Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're going to be playing Stairway to 7. Now, normally for a Tuesday morning, I would be playing one of James Sinclair's puzzles. I may actually still end up doing like a second post, hold tight for that. But when I was sort of browsing and I came across this particular title, I just couldn't pass it up. And it's quite a clever title, I think. I don't actually know the prompt. So just a bit of backstory. Amongst the constructor community, there is essentially like a prompt and a challenge every week. Score set this particular one, and the constructor of this particular puzzle, the pedaling pianist, responded with Stairway to 7. So I don't actually know what the prompt is, and hence the response doesn't necessarily make sense to me. But the fact that it's a 6x6 Sudoku puzzle, hence they're leading up to 7 but not quite to 7, just feels like a really clever idea to me. Of course, when it comes to the thumbnail, there's a bit of an homage to what I'm guessing is the inspiration for the title, Stairway to Heaven. So we've got a stairway here that is clearly leading up into the clouds, nice bright lights, golden, and there's the digits all around, including the number 7. Number 3 as well, and 6, which are the only ones accessible from the digits 1 to 6. Who knows what that is all about? Enough of this introduction. I may end up getting interrupted halfway through. So in the corner, you can see, I'm going to use this finger, just there is one of my dogs, the one that gets really scared from fireworks. And I think she's so on edge now that even if there are no fireworks, she's basically hiding there, as you can see, head under the couch, trying to pretend there's nothing else around her to sort of just soothe herself. So if there are indeed any fireworks, I will hit the pause button and try and calm her down. Tough few months, as I said, for dogs. Anyway, let's take a look at today's puzzle and rule sets with Stairway to 7 by the Pedaling Pianist and the following set of rules. What do you know? Another fog rule. First one, normal 6x6 Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 6 once each in every row, every column, and then every 2x3 box without any repeats, of course. Fog, the grid is partially covered in fog, fairly obvious. Entering a correct digit will clear some fog to reveal more clues. I'm finding the word some fog to be quite intriguing. So maybe, if this cell is a 2, for example, maybe it won't reveal all of the cells around it. Maybe it'll only reveal some cells to basically help you jump around to play the puzzle. We've seen that once before, where the fog is not necessarily just clearing what's around it, but partially. Counting palindromes. So digits along a grey line read the same forwards and backwards. Additionally, a digit on a palindrome shows how many times that digit appears on the palindrome. This is very tough to try and explain. Right, so the palindrome, I'm guessing, will be a grey line, which is going to be an awful idea for me to try and draw. But imagine that we have something like this. Now, a palindrome, the digits, well, that's actually a terrible palindrome because that's not going to work. Let me try that. Still doesn't work. Can I not construct a palindrome? How about we just go with this? So essentially, digits along a grey line read the same forwards and backwards. So essentially, these two cells, because that's the front and that's the end, have to be the same. And obviously, if it's a slightly longer palindrome, if I could come up with one, that would be the same for every other cell in the middle. So first and last are the same, second and second to last are the same, etc., so that they can read the same forwards and backwards. Now, the other part is the counting palindrome. So additionally, a digit on a palindrome shows how many times that digit appears on the palindrome. So if that is indeed a palindrome, this would have to be 2, and this would have to be 1. Because essentially that is saying the digit 2 appears twice on this palindrome, and this is saying the digit 1 appears once on this palindrome. And no other set of digits would actually work. Fascinating. Right, the non-consecutive part is probably what's going to help us. Orthogonally adjacent cells may not contain consecutive digits. So essentially, for example, my 2 here wouldn't have worked because it is consecutive with the 3 and it can't be touching orthogonally the 3. So none of these cells could be 2 because they would be consecutive with the 3. That's all the rules we have for today. Odd set of rules, fairly different from what we've seen in the past, almost all of them. So as always, if you want to play along, link will be in the description down below for you to do so. With that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So consecutive to the 3 is the 2 and 4. 2 and 4, I mean, let me start with the obvious statement. There is nowhere else to look in this grid except this 3, which has already been placed. 2 and 4 cannot be consecutive with the 3 in this box. They have to be in these two cells. Now, this cell cannot be 1 or 5 because it would be consecutive with either the 2 or the 4. It doesn't matter which one it is. So that's our first digit. That's a 6. And here's a palindrome that will probably help us. This is 1, 5. Clearly, it'll be like 1, 4, 5, 2, something along those lines, to make sure they're not consecutive. And then I'm meant to use the palindromes now for sure. I say for sure. So let's just think about this. So far, we know that these cells are at least on the palindrome. Now, I'm fairly sure it's not just these 4 cells, because these two would be the same. That's not a problem. But then these two would be the same and in their same column. That doesn't work. So it has to extend beyond this cell. And it almost certainly, I say almost certainly, no, I'm not sure that's true. It could extend that way, and that would be fine. These 2 cells are the same, these 2 cells are the same, and this one is unique. But the fact that it's a 2 or 4 is somewhat problematic because it's a counting palindrome. So this cell, if it's a 2, it's saying that it's appearing elsewhere in this palindrome. But because if it's in the middle, as is the case in this example, that's an even digit. So that would be one of them, and then everywhere else on the palindrome would double it up. So it would always be an odd digit. So I think what that's saying is that this palindrome has to be even digits long, something like this, so that this cell, whatever it is, stands a chance of having an even number of repeats. And you can already see the challenge, even with a 6-cell palindrome, that this doesn't work because these 2 and these 2 are going to be the same, and then these 2 are going to be the same. And I know that this is the next cell for sure because that's where it's heading into the fog. It's very obvious. So we're carrying on. We need at least another 2 cells. Then I have 1, 2, sorry, that's 1, that's 2, and even that doesn't work because these 2 would be the same, isn't it? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. These doesn't work. These 2 cells can't be that. So unless the palindrome is actually swinging downwards here, actually downwards doesn't matter, does it? Wherever it goes next, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cells long, wherever it goes next, this and the next orthogonally connected cell, and it has to be orthogonally connected. I don't think the palindrome, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't say anything about the palindrome having to be like a snake-like thing. I mean, I could essentially try and do something as such. That worked. So these 2 cells will be the same. And because this is here, I'm going to have to stay in this box. So I could do that, for example. So these 2 are the same. These 2 are the same. These 2 are the same. And then these 2 are the same. And yeah, there's no conflicting Sudoku there. So I can get away with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cell. So 8 is the minimum we're establishing, I think, at this point. Could be longer, of course. I mean, okay, I've done everything except talk about the fact this is 2 or 4. I'm finding 4 highly impractical. Because what it's saying is that this 4 is going to appear 4 times on this palindrome, which is actually possible even with 8 cells. If I just do that, come on, what's going on there? That might be enough. I could do 4s. No, I couldn't, because that 4 here. I mean, these two are fine, but this one and this one would conflict. And this having to go down is mandatory if I keep it as little as 8. And it has to be at a diagonal, it has to exit the box. But then I can't jump back in to the box because these cells are the same, so I have to stay down here. But I could do something else. I could jump here. Yeah, that works. Still make these two the same. No, I still have a problem. I don't think I can make an 8 cell. Right, maybe I should be thinking about triangular numbers. So we've established that it has to be 8 cells long at a minimum. Which means I have a maximum of 4 different digits. Because, 4 cells and then another 4 cells that are the same means I have a maximum of 4 unique digits because the other half would be exactly identical. Now, because I'm using 2 or 4, I'm clearly repeating. Hang on, the numbers on these, with the exception of the middle, cell of a palindrome, they all have to be even. And this cannot be even, it has to be odd. So this would have to be 135, and it is our middle, and therefore it is exactly 8 cells long. No, hang on, what am I saying? There was nothing wrong with having an odd length palindrome as long as this cell is not the middle. And because this is odd, because I've got 2, 4, 6 in here, it is an odd length palindrome. Because if you have an odd length palindrome, we know for a fact that because of the way the palindrome is functioning, that all other copies of this are going to be in even pairs. And because this is odd, that has to be the center digit. I mean, all of these are. And therefore, the palindrome can't actually continue beyond that because it needs to go to another cell, and that is 2 or 4. So it's not this cell. It could be any of these. And it's certainly not that one. I can't double back because, I mean, aside from the fact that the fog says so, this cell obviously needs to be repeated in one of these 4 cells. Okay. This is also 2 or 4. And now we know it's a 7 cell because this is odd. We know that it's 7 cells. So we also know that this is even because this is not the center digit and therefore needs to be duplicated X amount. Now, the 7 cells, ignoring the middle digit, means I have 3 numbers in here. Best case scenario is that this is a double 4, this is like a 2, and then there's another double 4 and a 2. Now, I can't make both of these 2s, because if I make both of these 2, I've already broken it. Yeah, this is double 4. So if these were double 2, well, I've already counted 1, 2, and then at the other end of the palindrome will be another 1, 2. I've already got 4 copies of 2, and that doesn't work. It has to be 4s and a 2. And the only way I can make 4 work is if both of these are 4. Obviously, this one can't be because it sees both of these cells. So both of these would have to be 4. And then somewhere else at the other end of the palindrome is a double 4 in some kind of shape as such. So the next cell along is going to be like somewhere in here. Then it's going to a 2. Then it's going to a 4 again. That was a very long, I don't want to call it break-in, but it took me a while to see all of this. So this has to be a 2. This has to be a 2. I can't repeat it with a 6. Now, because none of these are 4, one of these 2 cells is a 4. I say one of these 2 cells. It's exactly this cell because that's the digit, that's the center digit. So that's the 4, that's the 2, and that's the 4. Wow. Right, this can't be 3 or 5 because it's consecutive with the 4. So that's 1. That can't be 1 or 3. That's 5. That's 3. That's 6. And I'm guessing from here we can probably, basically use consecutive or the non-consecutive rule to basically take it home. So this is not 1, 2, or 3 because it's consecutive with the 2, nor 4. This is 5 or 6, both of which work. These are, well, 2 is up here, and a 2 has got to be away from the 3. This is not 2. So that's 2. Then I have 1 and 5. 5 can't be next to the 4, so that's 5, that's 1. Then I've got the 2, 5, so that's the 5. I'm actually just noticing something. Is it because of the non-consecutive nature and the 6 by 6 nature, is it always going to be is it striped? Sorry, roped? You can see that it's 2, 5, 2, 5, 1, 4, 1, 4, 3, 6, 3, 6. Seems that way, doesn't it? 6, 3. And I don't know if this is actually 4, so that can't be 6. That's the 6, that's the 3, 1 and 4, that's the 4, that's the 1. And I'm seeing the same thing in here. Wow, fascinating puzzle. Really, really interesting puzzle. I think a bit too clever for me, really. 6 and 2, just Sudoku this time. That means that's a 5. You can see the 2s, yeah. 3, I'm guessing that will be the 1, but let's prove it. Well, yeah, the 1 can't be next to the 2, so yes, that is the 1. That's the 5. And yes, this is roped. And that's the solution for today's puzzle. That's a phenomenal puzzle, Pedaling Pianist. Maybe harder than what I want to feature for a Tuesday, but I guess it's just lack of familiarity with the rule sets that's leading to kind of the lengthy debate that I had around this 4. Took me a while to realize that this is an odd digit and therefore the center, and therefore, yeah, that this is a 7-cell palindrome. Phenomenal puzzle. I really enjoyed that one. Hope that you guys enjoyed the puzzle and the video, even if it took me a while to kind of see it. And really looking forward to reading your comments about it tomorrow. That's it for now. See you soon.